Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. Another game day preview, catching up with our good buddy Zach Berry from OM Spirit down in Oxford. And obviously we'll be seeing him on Saturday as Oklahoma makes their way down to Oxford, Mississippi this weekend. 4-3 coming off of, I think you've probably heard, an ass whooping the last 2 weeks, really. The last two times they've been out there. And obviously going to have a new offense coordinator, John Finley, calling plays. Availability report comes out on Wednesday, or came out on Wednesday. We'll get another one here today on Thursday and then Friday going into it. But, we'll see. Deion Burks now listed at questionable going into Saturday. Gavin Sawchuk, doubtful. Nothing else new. But I know that you did some reporting last night on Deion Burks' availability going into the week, and I think that we talked about it on Tuesday. It was like, okay, he's practiced the last 2 days. Things are improving, feeling good about it after he was out there for the pregame last weekend against South Carolina. Maybe not so much going into Oxford.
Yeah, it sounds like he is truly questionable. I think we all thought he was going to be on the right track, and it sounded like he was. On Monday, he was a full participant in practice. It sounded like was certainly looked like he was going to be able to play. Tuesday sounds like maybe he re-injured himself, maybe had a little bit of a setback. I don't know how big. I think it's pretty minor maybe, sure. So he might be able to give it a go
Fingers
this
crossed,
weekend.
maybe.
But I think you should expect him to be listed as questionable probably the rest of the week, and then we'll see if he makes the trip down to Ole Miss. But certainly not the news I think anybody wanted. So
yeah, certainly not. And I'm figuring that John Finley would like his services.
Yep, I think everybody.
Saturday. I think everybody.
Jacob Jordan, though. Jacob Jordan. We'll get to Jacob Jordan later in the show, but maybe he can be the savior, Eddie.
If nothing else, it is a fun story. I know that we talked about him in depth a little bit on the Unofficial 40. You're going to be writing about it, which has been maybe good, maybe bad. Great story, but it's affected the players on the field. You should have.
But to be fair, everybody's like, you've jinxed the players. I'm like, well, maybe everybody just isn't good. Maybe it's not my fault. Maybe everybody's just playing bad.
That could be it too. It's going to be a rough one on Saturday. Yeah. A little bit of cleanup from earlier in the week, though. Obviously the Seth Luttrell stuff. We talked about it on Sunday night in the instant reaction after the announcement was made, after you did the reporting on Sunday evening. And then obviously we heard from Brent Venables on Monday and heard from Brent Venables again on Tuesday. Player availability was moved back in the week to Tuesday night. Talked to Jake Roberts, who has a unique relationship with Seth Luttrell, just in terms of he played down at North Texas when Seth was fired down there. What did you think the vibe was just around some of the players on Tuesday night?
I think kind of somber. I mean, It certainly was one of those things where I think that they know everybody had a part in this, themselves included, and I think that you could tell that. And then I think you could also tell that there was a genuine excitement for somebody like a John, who a lot of these guys have been around the last several years, even a Javonte Barnes. I mean, John's been on staff, and so they're very familiar with him. And so it makes a lot of sense to elevate a guy that obviously the players know extremely well. But I think the genuine, general consensus, I guess, among the guys was that this sucks. It's unfortunate, I think, is what Javonte Barnes said. And so, but they have to keep moving forward. That was the other thing, is like, hey, we still got 5 games left to play. You can't sit here and mope around about it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We did talk to a number of the players on Tuesday evening about, the dismissal of Seth Luttrell, and then also about John Finley taking over play calling duties.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Coach V made a change, and it's been trying to keep it as business as usual as we can, and we're trying to do a good job of that, and that starts with, coming out on the practice field, bringing good energy, and, starting to prep for Ole Miss. So, it's been business as usual, but, obviously a different vibe in some ways.
Obviously, you go back further with Coach Luttrell than most. Have you had the chance to talk to him at all since it all happened?
I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm sure we will soon. But love Coach Luttrell as a coach and a person, and this doesn't change a thing about that.
Vibe of the team has been good. Obviously we hate the news happens, but the offense has been great. The energy's been past 2 days. Like I said, we haven't had any practices this whole season where everybody's been moping and kicking the dirt. Everybody's had high energy and been really excited to go out there and compete and get better.
He's the same guy he's been since my freshman year. Just excited to be out there, excited to coach. Just a lot of energy, you know, just moving around, just make sure everybody is going, everybody's executing, you know, lock in all the details.
What about him gives you confidence that, you know, that things can get better?
His energy, just I mean, he was a competitor when he was here and he played here, but, you know, as a coach ever since my freshman year, he's always been a competitor and, you know, obviously not only coach the tight ends, but, you know, come and coach us a little bit. You can do this, you can do that. Even today he had told me I was going a little too fast on something and slow it down and it looked perfect. So, you know, just critiquing every little thing and making sure he brings the energy is something that he's always going to do.
Do you still believe that this is fixable as far as the offensive line? It's just individually?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if like I said, if you watch, like I said last week, you watch film, it's here and there. It's one play there, it's one thing there, and it's about that much. It's nothing like major, like where anybody's just, you know, really like, oh, going the wrong way or anything like that. It's just little technique, little details. Like, we got to do our job.
You know, go shock the world. I mean, you know, a lot of people are counting us out, and why give them what they want? You know, a lot of people would say, oh, we're at the bottom of SEC, we're this, we're that, but why not go flip it? Why not show everybody we're different? So I think that's our biggest mindset, and I think that's what I'm so excited for is nobody has got quitting or nobody has quit or anything like that or had the bad mindset, well, let's give up. Nobody ever had that. So we just keep going, keep executing, and, you know, just have fun out there.
You know, it's one thing to just be able to say F it almost and kind of just go out there, play free. It's one thing to try to get a spark with the firing an offensive coordinator or, you know, whatever Oklahoma's tried to do here over the last 7 weeks to get this thing going. It's a little bit different when you look up and all of a sudden you're starting to play some of these better defenses that you're going to face over the next couple of weeks. They've obviously played Tennessee. South Carolina was a really good defense. Texas, obviously. But at the same time, it's a tough ask going down to Ole Miss this weekend where, you know, I think that when you think of Ole Miss and you think of Lane Kiffin and you think about what they do offensively, they're a damn good defense.
Dude, they're really good. One of the
might
best.
be the best defensive line Oklahoma's faced.
I feel like we've said that like
I know every week,
but I don't.
Not the best thing when you have an offensive line that is terrible.
I think this is definitely the interior defensive line for Ole Miss.
Walter Nolan, he is as advertised.
Yeah, I mean this group is for real. You know, I don't know if they have the same. They definitely don't have the same edge talent that maybe South Carolina did, which is the best in the country. They don't have a James Pierce like Tennessee did, but this is a really solid group, and it's interesting. You know, OU kind of rebuilt their offensive line through the transfer portal, hasn't worked. Ole Miss has rebuilt their defensive line through the transfer portal, and it's worked extremely well for them. These guys are almost all transfers that are going to be making plays for Ole Miss, and so when you look at this matchup, it's not great for Oklahoma, and that's why it's really interesting to see how does Oklahoma attack them. Do they try to get a lot of quick passing games, some screens, maybe some jet sweeps? I know that's a trigger word out there for a lot of fans, but I think that everybody would agree, try anything. They haven't run a lot of jet sweeps this year. Maybe that's why the offense isn't moving the football, but you know, I think that those sort of things to get you out onto the edges, off the tackles, you know, out in the boundary, get away from running it straight up the gut, because you're not going to be able to do that against this Ole Miss team, at least not effectively. Oklahoma's been able to do it against anybody, so I don't think they're going to be able to do it against the Rebels on Saturday. So it's a tough matchup. That's the thing, is like you talk about trying to get a spark and all these things. The schedule isn't helping them. Sure. It's only getting tougher every single week other than Maine. And so it talk about a tough first test for Joe John Finley, even Kevin Johns, who I'm sure is going to be a big part of this game plan too. 7th
in this country in sacks per game. You go in knowing they're going to get after Oklahoma's offensive line. You have to be physical with this group. It might be one of the more physical games Oklahoma's played in. Brent Venables he sang praises about Ole Miss defensively on Tuesday. Here he is.
Well, it's the whole defense. Just like, again, we've played some really, really good defenses. And, you know, I'm not sure if there's been a season where a team has faced this many at Oklahoma, this many good units. That's not an excuse, just what that group of players are dealing with right now. And I think they're number 2 scoring defense in the country, giving up 10 points a game, and so playing really, really well. So very similar to the approach that we've had the last several weeks. Not a whole lot different. You go in, you do what you do. You got to do it better. You got to take care of the football. You got to create explosive plays. You got to push the ball down the field. We got to do a lot better job at protecting the quarterback, not allowing as many negative plays, and try to get into a rhythm offensively.
Is that the best front you've seen
this week? Yeah. they're all good, man. I chuckle only because. If you want me to be real and honest, I just compare this player to that player to this player, and
real impressed with Nolan, so.
Yeah, Nolan Smith is playing. He's the number one player in the country coming out of high school. Goes to A&M, does fantastic there, and he's picked up. I think he's in his third year, and he's playing like a third year former number one player in the country. He's developed. He works hard. He strains. Incredibly disruptive. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. He can cross face against anybody he plays. He can play a 5 technique. He can play an inside a shade or a 3 technique. There's nothing that he can't do. God willing, he'll be a top 5 pick really soon. But there's also another 10 guys that line up out there with him. They're all really good players. Again, I think they've got 18 of their 22 starters or transfers. They've done a really nice job of not only I think it's easy to say you just go find good players and put them together and then you have a super team. It's easier said than done. And so obviously Lane and their staff, they've done a nice job at getting these guys to buy into the culture, and there's a certain level of selflessness that goes along with that, and again, keeping guys hungry and on edge, and playing the ultimate team sport the way the game needs to be played, as opposed to selfishly trying to go make plays. I'm going to do what I want to do and things of that nature. They've played really disciplined football.
We don't know what it's going to look like come Saturday. For Joe John Finley, obviously it's going to be a very tough assignment, taking over play calling duties for an offense that simply isn't moving the football. Are there things that they can do? And I know that everybody's talking about this. What's it going to look like? We think it's going to look rather similar. Maybe do you go back to a little bit more of the RPO? Does Brent Venables allow that to happen? I know that he was pretty vocal a couple weeks ago about maybe getting away from that, taking all the decision-making that has to be made away from the quarterback, getting the ball out early. It seems like it's easy enough, but they just haven't been able to do this.
I do think you'll see some more RPO stuff. I think you're going to see some screen passes. I think you're going to see sort of what we saw the last 2 years under Jeff Lebby. Obviously, Joe John Finley comes from that tree. He knows that offense, and there's parts of that we've seen this year. I think they're really going to lean into that. I think they're going to simplify it. It's not going to be like this thing where they open up the playbook and all of a sudden they've got all these great plays that they're scheming up and guys are just running wide open. But I do think that they can do some different things to maybe help a Jackson Arnold have some success, especially early, some quick passes, RPO. Yes, I think you're going to see some of that, some quick slants in the RPO. That's something that Jackson was doing pretty well for the most part. I know he had some turnover issues and maybe wasn't reading things exactly right all the time. I think they can also help him with that, saying, hey, you're giving it on this look every single time, or you're throwing it on this look every single time. Simplify it. Make it easy for him. I do think you're going to see a lot of that. It sounds like this week in practice has been a lot of going back to square one.
Sure.
Kind of starting
Welcome
over.
back to spring ball.
Exactly. I think that's been a huge part of this. And so I'm interested to see how does that work from this week. Is it one of those things where I could see them coming out and maybe playing pretty well to start the game, and then as the game goes
How
on,
does Mississippi adjust?
Exactly,
Right.
and they adjust to maybe some simple, basic things that Oklahoma's doing. I think the biggest thing for OU, and it's a simple thing, but it's been a problem the last few weeks. Just hold on to the football.
Sure.
If they can just not turn the ball over in this game, I'm not saying they're going to go win the game, but they probably aren't going to get blown out, because I do think on the other side, the defense is going to find some success. They've been really good so far this year. I think they can slow Ole Miss down. But if the offense continues to just give Ole Miss the football, it's going to be a long day in Oxford.
It's going to be interesting. Ole Miss, and you'll hear from Zach Berry here in a second, they're going through their own offensive problems, and as you'll hear, it's like, Zach, don't tell us about offensive problems right now. But they have had a little bit of it. It's not moving as I think a lot of people thought that they would with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's been exceptional this season, but maybe there is a familiarity there with what they've been practicing against, obviously, over the last couple of years against Jeff Lebby's offense.
Yeah, I think there's that, and I think there's also that, look, Ole Miss, the expectations this year were very high for them.
Sure.
And so far, they haven't really lived up to that. And
It's a team that's lost 2 of their last 3.
Yeah, in 2 big games. Look, they drop one to Kentucky that they should not have lost, and then they go and get beaten overtime to LSU in a game that they were winning most of the game. I think you and I watched.
Yeah, we were watching it in the hotel room in Dallas.
Yeah, so this is a big game for them. They have to perform well. I think the pressure is on in Oxford. If they were to somehow lose this game, that would be a massive, massive loss for Lane Kiffin.
And it's weird that, as Oklahoma goes in a 20-point underdog on Saturday, you want to put that into the back of the brain early in the game of not necessarily that they've quit or anything like that, but just, hey, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And make them make plays. And that's something that you didn't really see against Texas or South Carolina when you're in a hole like you are at the beginning of the game.
I think for us, Eddie, neither one of us think they're going to go in and win this football game. I think we don't even think they have a chance to win this football game.
It's just hard for me to think that everything's going to just all of a sudden be rosy like it has been, or an offensive line's not going to allow what they are.
Yeah, we just want to see some improvement. Sure. Hang around in the game. Don't quit, like you said. That would be awful if they go out there and they just lay down. And I don't anticipate that happening. But see some improvement. See Jackson Arnold throw some nice balls. See some younger guys like a Jacob Jordan this past week step up. Whoever that may be. Maybe some younger offensive linemen get in the game. All of those sorts of things. That's what I'm looking for more so than what's the final score. I sound like such a
if you're looking for a positivity program, this one probably isn't it. But the one thing that you can say, though, and you'll hear from some of the leaders here after we get to Zach, is that I think there is a good culture right now within the program. You hear from guys like Danny Stutzman or Javante Barnes. We'll get to that here.
But how long does that stick? I mean, how long does that stick around if they keep losing? That's the thing. That's the question.
Right. So. And, I think that they're trying to stay positive up front, but everybody knows what the problem is. It's what we've talked about here over the last couple of weeks. It's hard to stay positive and be positive with your teammates when in the back of your mind, you know what they're going through.
Yep.
And, Danny and Billy and Woody and all those guys, Ethan Downs, they know what it's like to be on the other side of the coin. Before we get to Zach Berry, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Ever heard of it? It's that time of the week. Download Prize Picks or go to the website and download Prize Picks, the app, or go to the website, prizepicks.com. And all you got to do is put down $5. You get $50 instantly using the promo code SoonerScoop. We got a little bit of hoops now to choose from.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm going with the Thunder tonight.
Okay.
Season debut, season opener down in Denver. So I'm taking...
Well, it's up in Denver. You
up
lived
in Denver,
there.
yes, that's true. I did live there. I'm taking SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, this year's MVP, over 25.5 points scored tonight. And then I'm also taking, on the other side, former Thunder great Russell Westbrook to hit at least 1 3-pointer in the game.
It's crazy that Russ is up in Denver now. I'm going to go with J-Dub on Thursday night. Over 0.5 3-pointers made. Seems like he's going to knock down a 3, right? And then we'll go over to Sunday. We'll go to our good friend Baker Mayfield. Over 0.5 touchdown passes. Just got to throw a touchdown. Maybe you can get Kate Otten. I know they're going through
Sterling
some things.
Shepard.
Sterling Shepard's been nice. He had the 2-point conversion on Monday night, even though that they got beat. It was a rough week for Tampa Bay. They're going to have to find some answers for Chris Godwin, and obviously going to be without Mike Evans for a little bit. But just go to Prize Picks, $5, get $50 back. That's easy. Use the promo code SoonerScoop. Just download the app on Prize Picks or go to the website prizepicks.com. And now to learn a little bit more about the Ole Miss Rebels, which we had a big conversation about this. They're the Rebels, but remember they changed the mascot
to
the land shark now because I think it ruffled some feathers for some people, probably out on the West Coast. You know what I mean? But we did talk to Zach Berry, omspirit.com, to get a little bit more about Lane Kiffin's crew. Now welcoming in Zach Berry from omspirit.com. We caught up with him I guess it would have been, 2 months ago during the opponent preview, and obviously Oklahoma headed down to Oxford this weekend. Zach, thanks for doing this. Thanks for joining us. It will be it's going to be interesting. As we were talking about before we began here today, Oklahoma certainly going through it. Just in terms of Ole Miss, they've lost 2 of 3. What's kind of the status of Lane Kiffin's program here as they welcome Oklahoma to town?
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier this week on our show. I think a lot of it is everybody just needs to relax. I feel like I feel like just top to bottom, Kiffin does not look the same on the sidelines. He looks very stressed. He's normally very chill, laid back. He's goofing off with the players, with the officials. The body language has been bad, and I think that just they say that the players take on the personality of the head coach. I think that's rubbed off, and the players have been really pressing. Obviously, with college football playoff on the line, you have 2 losses now. Everything's kind of ramped up even more, but I felt like the Kentucky game and the LSU game, it was very odd. It just did not seem like the same very laid back, let's have fun Ole Miss team under Lane Kiffin.
Sure. And it seems like, and that was going to kind of be my next question, is just in the 2 losses, what have been, I guess, kind of the characteristics of those losses? Has it been turnovers? Has it been penalties? What has necessarily gone wrong?
How much time you got?
Well, you just wait until you see this OU football team.
It's crazy because in both of the losses, the defense played great. You had basically 2 plays, the 4th and 7 that Kentucky converts, and then the overtime, double move that gets LSU the win. Outside of that, the front 7 has been as advertised. I was looking at the stats during the bye week and just how good this defense has been. And now I know it's with the non-conference opponents, but collectively, it's been a group that is 7th in sacks in the country, 1st nationally in rushing yards allowed, and 2nd in points allowed. The SEC stats aren't as friendly, but they're still not terrible. So I feel like that defensive group is kind of ringing their fist at the offense across the hall because it's Lane Kiffin and the offense is just stuck in neutral. I think the missed opportunities and a lot of 3rd down penalties defensively. I just praise the defense. Now there's been some questionable calls. There's been some late flags in some games. I do think that the Ole Miss secondary is not shying away from being physical and being aggressive. And I do think they're getting tagged for that. But offensively, it's just been the offensive line. I don't think it's a very simple answer. And, like we were saying before we started, it just affects everything. It just compounds. It's a chain reaction where Jackson Dart has no time. So he's trying to get the ball out quick, or he's trying to, get a chunk play just about every play. And then the lack of the run game here and there. I think Henry Parrish has had a really good season in spite of the offensive line really struggling to get a consistent push. Now you've got Ulysses Bentley in the fold. What a shocker. He comes in the LSU game and, has an amazing game, an electric touchdown run. No one knows why he hasn't played up until this point. At this point, it doesn't matter. You got to play him because you got to win out, basically. But yeah, it's just been penalties and just the offensive line. It just affects everything.
Zach, tell us, you just broke down the offense a lot there, but tell us about Jackson Dart, the year that he's had so far. I know he got off to a great start. Like you said, the last couple of weeks, the offensive line maybe hasn't performed as well. And then also give us an update on Trey Harris. I know we got a little bit banged up a couple of weeks ago at LSU, but you think he's probably going to play in this game?
I expect him to. Our publisher and resident know-it-all when it comes to these things. He's typically got the best intel. Chuck Rounsel, he hasn't said anything about Trey not playing. I know that it would take a lot for Trey Harris not to play. Very intense competitor. He wants to be out there with his guys. They coined this the last dance. All these guys chose to come back for a reason. So it would take a lot for him not to be out there. But yeah, asking about Jackson Dart, I got to give a shout out to Jason Deloach, CFB Numbers on Twitter. He does a lot of great work with analytics and a lot of statistical stuff with Pro Football Focus. It's pretty crazy what Jackson Dart did through the first 4 games, and then how the offensive line has affected his play in the SEC. Through the non-con, Ole Miss was 2nd in expected in EPA per play, 3rd in touchdown drive rate. All top 5 in efficiency. SEC play, you're in the 40s, and the pressure rate is 54th in the country in the Power Four, which I believe there's 68 teams, so it's down by the bottom. So 40th percent pressure rate. Listening to Jason talk, and he said the pressure rate, if it's above like 25 to 28%, it's very bad. And a lot of it is probably most likely on the quarterback. So again, he's trying to do too much, in my opinion, and just not getting rid of the football when he needs to, or just not running. I think I don't. Maybe he's trying to maybe take the deep shots. He's trying to go through progressions. I don't know. There's a lot of times where I think Ole Miss fans are just screaming at their television to just run. But yeah, the combination of the O line being bad, some guys just aren't getting open. I mean, Trey Harris has just been a cheat code all season. Juice Wells has had some drop issues, and Jordan Watkins has been dinged up. Caden Lee has been really good, kind of in that slot role. He's almost become the number 2 guy. Probably the biggest question outside of Ulysses Bentley not playing is what happened to the tight ends.
Yeah.
Caden Priestborn was a safety blanket last year. In the Peach Bowl, he just absolutely torched a Penn State defense that was top 5. And Ole Miss picks up Daquan Wright from Virginia Tech, who is just a athletic freak, and they just haven't really used him. So I'm looking for Ole Miss to get more creative offensively and just try to loosen up a bit to help Dart and those receivers kind of make plays, just like they've done early in the season.
Just out of curiosity, how does Lane Kiffin handle the questions about his offense right now?
I think
he's squirrely. He seemed squirrely during his press conference this week.
Yeah, I think he's done a pretty good self-scout to a certain extent. He's going to do a lot of coach speak. He kind of blends a lot with what Saban does and kind of what Pete Carroll always did, where he's going to talk more about the personnel and stuff like that. I don't know. I think some Ole Miss fans were wanting him to really grab hold of the ownership of the losses. And, Kiffin, he kind of does everything his own way. I don't think he's ducking that or, not taking the blame. He's the head coach. It falls on him. But, yeah, I mean, he's not going to show it. He's not going to, show a chink in the armor. But that this bugs him, that his offense is having so much trouble. So, yeah, I think that's probably what I'm most excited about this weekend, just for the matchup's sake, is just what's the offense going to look like.
On the flip side, Zach, Pete Golding seems to have that defense headed in the right direction, and they're facing just a horrific offense this week in Oklahoma. I would love to know the statistics that you gave out on Ole Miss's offensive line. I'm guessing
whatever
Oklahoma's,
that pressure number is for Jackson Dart, I would imagine it's tripled.
Much higher for Oklahoma. What's been working for Ole Miss? I know you mentioned the front seven. We've heard all about Walter Nolan, who's obviously had a really good season, but there's a lot of guys on this defense, it seems like, that have played well.
Yeah, it starts up front. Two of the bigger pieces of the defense are multi-year transfer guys, which is not very common. Jared Ivey, who originally played at Georgia Tech, and then J.J. Pegues, who's the local hometown hero, started his career at Auburn. Those two are as about as consistent as you can get. Pegues on the interior, Ivey off the edge. And it has really helped Walter Nolan get some one-on-ones. And when Princely Umamielon's healthy, he's a monster. I think that he will be available. He was suited up for LSU but didn't play. So with an extra week of recovery, we'll see if he gets out on the field. But yeah, it starts up front with those guys, and then the linebackers. I don't think they're getting enough credit. It's been really damn good. Pooh Paul coming from Arkansas. He was leading tackler for the Hogs. He was really, really good. I mean, he was a thorn in the side of Ole Miss when he played at Arkansas. He's just been a monster. Violent with a capital V. I mean, he is what you want your middle linebacker to be. And then TJ Daugherty, the Clemson transfer, made a lot of plays in the Peach Bowl because he was ineligible for the year, got to play in the postseason. He's been very good. Probably one of the more fun kind of growth and showing that promise of a 5-star plus player is Suntaran Perkins has been really good. he looked a little overwhelmed last year trying to play off the edge. This year looks to be a little bit more comfortable in the defense. He kind of knows. I think he was swimming a lot last year, but he's made a ton of plays. So they really help the back end, which is, I think, if you have to pick a weakness on that defense, it's the back end. I think it's safety. I do think Trey Amos and Isaiah Hamilton have played well at corner, but outside of John Saunders at safety, they're kind of limited, and I don't think they have the top end speed that would make you feel a little bit better with those dudes back there. But yeah, the front seven is where it starts, and it just kind of helps, kind of opposite of the offensive line, where it affects everything. The front seven being so damn good through the first 7 games has really helped.
I would imagine that a lot of people that turned on the Kentucky game at the end saw the missed kick. Just in terms of special teams, where has Ole Miss been? Things getting better at the kicking position, or has it just been the one-off that everybody saw?
Yeah, honestly, that was very uncharacteristic of Caden Davis.
Sure.
I mean, Kiffin trotted him out there a couple years ago, and it feels like a couple years ago against Tulane, and he booted a 50-plus yarder, no doubter. I mean, it was good from 60. He's done that throughout his career at Ole Miss. Yeah, he puts everything in the back of the end zone on kickoffs. So yeah, just an absolute just yank job on the potential tying field goal against Kentucky. He did miss one against LSU, but then nailed a couple long ones. One that was from way downtown to really push that game, to push LSU to have to score a touchdown to force overtime. And then I think a lot of people forget, just because it was a loss, I mean, he booted another 48, 50-yarder in overtime for Ole Miss when they went 3 and out.
Sure.
So I think it was just a one-off. I mean, he's got a really big leg. And as far as the punter, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know if they're. That's a
good problem to have, though. I think Oklahoma, one of their best players, has been their punter here through the first couple weeks of or I guess halfway through the season.
Yeah, it's insane. Zach, you look at this game, 20-point spread. Yeah. Is that right?
Why'd you look at me like I'm the degenerate here?
Trust me, because you are.
No, that's true.
But Zach, you look at this. I think a lot of Oklahoma fans look at this and say, "No chance. Oh, you can go in there and win this game." But I'm wondering, from Ole Miss's perspective, how big of a must-win is this in terms of getting this thing back on track? I remember talking to you back in July or August, whenever we did that interview. The expectations this season for Ole Miss were so high, making the college football playoff, maybe competing for an SEC title. Those things, making the playoff is still in front of them. How big of a game is this for Ole Miss in terms of just getting back on the right track?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pivotal moving forward, obviously, because they got to win out. I think. I mean, maybe 9-3 if there's just chaos everywhere else. Maybe you get in.
Sure.
But yeah, talking about the expectations, and I mentioned all those gaudy numbers. Bill Connolly at ESPN, he does his SP Plus rankings. Ole Miss is still a top 5 team per his rankings, which is opponent adjusted. He's got the algorithm that is pretty wild. I do think that's kind of pretty indicative of Ole Miss this season, where it just shows you Ole Miss has the ability to be there 6-1, 7-0. It's just been a couple plays. And obviously the scoreboard's all that matters, the analytics and stuff, who cares? But I think that shows that Ole Miss is right there. It's just a couple first downs, a couple third down stops, get off the field. Ole Miss has done really well on third down this year. They just can't get a fourth down stop. Kentucky gets one. LSU got a couple at the end of that game to get that win eventually. But yeah, it's the expectations were obviously college football playoff or bust. I think that was pretty much everybody. The media, me included, everybody was pretty much saying it. Kiffin came out and said, "Hey, a great roster doesn't make a great team." And I remember in the summer when I was like, the only question mark I have is the offensive line. Everywhere else, they're pretty damn good. So it's time to circle the wagons, all the cliches, where you kind of have to, this is where the rubber meets the road type stuff with Oklahoma coming in. I know the spread is 3 scores, but I was talking to a former player who watches a lot of All 22, and he was just enamored with Jackson Arnold. and just the arm talent, the ability. Hey, there's no pressure for Oklahoma Saturday.
Sure.
You fired your offensive coordinator. Seth Luttrell's gone. You got Joe John calling plays. I mean, just let it fly. So I think that's going to be a little bit freeing for Oklahoma and could make for a really fun game. But yeah, Ole Miss has got to use this as a way to kind of springboard into these next two before the bye week. Because obviously you got the big one November 9th against Georgia. This one, you got Arkansas sandwiched between them. You got to win the first two to set up the big one November 9th where, hey, you got to, it's kind of a winner, loser goes home type thing with Georgia potentially. So, yeah, with the expectations now, it's just, hey, you've got the roster to do it. Let's kind of, push comes to shove. Let's see what Ole Miss has.
Last one from us, Zach. Just in terms of game day experience, obviously, I think there was a lot of Oklahoma fans that were extremely disappointed that this game is an 11 a.m. kickoff. What's the vibe like for an 11 a.m. kickoff at the Grove, and then obviously inside the stadium there in Oxford?
Yeah, I was gonna say I believe that the weather is gonna cooperate. I think it's supposed to be like high of 78, so it's not going to be crazy hot. Perfect. I think that will help things. Honestly, I think a lot of Ole Miss fans will be there. It's a conference opponent. It's only the second time that Ole Miss and Oklahoma have played.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. So I think that's going to be part of it. But yeah, great weather, and it's important. I mean, it's an important game for Ole Miss. I think there's going to be a lot of nervous energy in the building. But I think Ole Miss will show up, and it'll be a great atmosphere. You've got the Grove, obviously. So yeah, I highly encourage Oklahoma fans to get out. Just go in, mingle. Ole Miss fans are gonna go out of their way to show you a good time. But yeah, 11 a.m. kick. I know it's a bummer, but it should be a great atmosphere. And then hey, 11 a.m. gives you the rest of the day to do whatever you want. Yep. So you can go to the square, get some libations, get some good food. And, belly up somewhere and find some TVs and have a good afternoon and good night.
Regardless, it should be a fun afternoon in Oxford. Excited for this trip. I think we've both been excited for this trip. Even with, Oklahoma and the struggles that they've had, there's a ton of Oklahoma fans making the trip down.
Both of our parents.
Everybody's going. It's going to be fun. Hopefully they don't lose by 50. Maybe it'll be like somewhat competitive. We'll see. Zach Berry from omspirit.com. We appreciate it, man. We'll see you on Saturday. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks, Zach.
See ya. Always good to catch up with Zach, and I really am. There is a genuine excitement about going to Oxford.
Yep.
Obviously wished, Oklahoma was playing a little bit better football on the offensive side, but I do know there's a ton of people going down there for the game on Saturday.
It's going to be great.
Let's tell you now about Game Time, which we've both used before. A great app to get tickets if you're looking to go to. Speaking of the Thunder, they're going to be in town. The home opener coming up on Sunday. It's an easy process, easy app to work around. I like the fact that you can see where you're going to sit within the games.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Gives you a little picture there. I've used it for concert
tickets.
It is.
There's the great Paycom Center.
I actually bought Thunder tickets the other day for a game later this season on Game Time, and it's again super easy. You can see there all the different ticket prices, including the all-in price.
All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, all you got to do is go download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the redemption code of ON3, ON, the number 3 for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And once you start getting around the Game Time app too, obviously easy to use. There's different things that you can use within it. The Game Time picks, which helps filter out, basically everything, and just shows you where you need to go to get the seats that you desire.
Yeah, and it's the hot deals. I know that always pops up for me. It's this is the best deal that you can get.
Download the Game Time app. Terms do apply. Looking forward to using it myself to get into the Paycom Center
to
here
some
over the
Thunder
next
games?
couple. Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
Got to watch the future Western Conference champions.
NBA champions,
all right,
not just Western Conference.
Let's go back to depression mode here. As let's talk a little bit more about the offense, because it is kind of fascinating, interesting, just in terms of on top of Joe John Finley taking over the play calling duties, you do have Kevin Johns in there as well, running the quarterback room.
Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating. I mean, I wrote a story about him for Friday that you can check out on Soonerscoop.com, and just his pedigree. He's one of the most veteran guys on staff. He started coaching college football, I think, in 1999. Has been an offensive coordinator for, I think, 12 seasons in his career. A lot of seasons that he had success. Some years, maybe not as much. I know his last year at Duke, I think they finished 68th in total offense, but the year before that, I think they were top 40. At Indiana under Kevin Wilson, they had a top 10 offense a couple times. At Memphis, he was very successful. I think top 20 offense. So this guy knows football. This guy's coached. He's called plays, and he's coached quarterbacks other than 1 year at Texas Tech where he was the wide receivers coach and offensive coordinator, I think with Cliff Kingsbury. He has coached quarterbacks his entire career, played the position. So that, to me, is what's really interesting. Again, he's not calling plays. I don't know how much he'll be a part of the game plan, but I do think that
I think it'll be very, very involved in
I
the
think
game
so
plan
too
with Joe John.
And I think they're going to be trying to come up with some things that can really help Jackson, or if Michael gets into the game, some things that are easy plays for them to execute, because that's been a big issue at the quarterback position. And I think the biggest thing is having that guy in the quarterback room with two young quarterbacks, I think can really give them some new perspective. I know Brent talked a lot about that this week, but everything you hear about Kevin Johns, the guy's very well respected. He's been at some really good universities, coached for some very successful coaches. So I do think, again, is it going to all of a sudden Jackson Arnold's going to look like Heisman winner? No, but I do think that maybe he can help with their development in these last 5 games.
Jump back to Tuesday, a little bit more from Brent Venables on a question from the great Barry Trammell, just talking about marrying a really good defense and a really good offense, which has been a little bit of a struggle through Brent's first 2.5 years, as well as a little bit more information and thoughts from players on Kevin Johns.
We've been an abomination on offense this year, but year 1 and year 2 I think we're pretty good, and one of the best in the country. So I got perspective on what did happen, and there's a lot of things you can go down the list, but I think you can have both. And I think a year ago we were pretty good on defense and really good on offense. And year 1, not very good on defense and still pretty good on offense. So all with whatever shortcomings we have here. Actually, we were not a very efficient offense our first year, although the final stats would say we were pretty good. But we made tremendous improvement in year 2 in all the efficiency spaces on both sides of the ball. And that's more of a model of what we're a vision for what we're wanting to be on both sides of the ball, where we can truly complement each other and have a chance on any given week to win the game on that side of the ball. And obviously we have fallen short, in that regard, this year. But I don't think it's an allocation of resources. There's again, we know what some of the issues have been, and we've got to be better around the young quarterbacks, and we haven't been. And some of that, again, there's been some injuries, and I think that's a real thing that doesn't allow you to be fully who you are, and we haven't been very good and consistent on the offensive line either.
Yeah, Coach Johns has been a quiet guy for most of the time he's been here, but the last couple of days he's having to step up into more of a leadership role, and everyone's kind of getting to feel a little bit more of his personality and who he is as a coach, when he's kind of been in the behind the curtains a little bit throughout the season. So getting to see him kind of step up into that role, he's doing a great job. And I know Coach Johns from recruiting in high school and stuff, and he's the same guy, a good, personable man and a great coach, really smart guy.
He was more so of a laid-back kind of guy. Didn't want to be too much into, people's space. But I think one thing that stood out to me the most was, during fall camp, a lot of times he'll come up to me and, keep me going and just give me energy that, sometimes it's a hot day, it's 90 degrees, a lot of people want to be at home, but, just give me energy to keep me going. And, I think that's one thing that he brings to the table is energy and, showing people just you should be excited to be here and excited to play the game, like have fun with it. So I think that's the biggest thing I could take from him. He's been doing a good job.
To get through this, whatever this is right now, this low point, it seems like leadership is really important. And I think if you can't say one thing about Brent's program right now, it seems like there is a good leadership core.
I think so. I think it starts with guys like Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, and obviously those guys coming back, seeing what it looks like. You mentioned Woody Washington earlier, Ethan Downs, all of those guys. I think offensively it's kind of like, who are those leaders?
Right.
And I think Javonte Barnes has certainly emerged. Troy Everett, since he's taken over the center spot, has emerged. But other than that, you're kind of looking around like, who are these guys? I know Jackson Arnold was mentioned, Michael Hawkins as well, both guys stepping up. But when you're going through a crisis like this team is, you have to lean on those guys, and those guys that have been in the program, and even some of the younger guys, but mostly those guys that have been in the program know what the quote-unquote standard is at OU, the tradition that comes with playing at this university. You have to lean on those guys to pick this thing up, to pick up the pieces, to make sure people stay focused, stay engaged. We heard a lot about that from Javonte Barnes and some of the other guys that just said, hey, I know things aren't going well, but we still have to finish this thing out strong, have to hold people accountable. And, when somebody gets fired like that, I think it kind of, not that it wakes everyone up. I think they're awake, but I think it maybe does give everybody a sense of like, oh man, this is a business. This is real life.
Well, and I think that we see these guys every Saturday, right? We see them probably a little bit more than the average fan does, but these guys see each other every day. And when you get somebody fired and you're somewhat responsible for the way that you play every day or every game on Saturday, I think it does, it hits you. You wouldn't be a human if you didn't care for the guy next to you.
Yeah, exactly. And you could sense that. I think you could sense that from a lot of the guys. And so now it's on them to try and pick this thing up, keep moving forward. Like I said earlier in the show, you can't sit around and mope about it. You have to go try and figure out a way to fix it. And it sounds like that's been pretty much the whole week is trying to figure out how can they fix this and can guys stick with it. Because I said it earlier, eventually, it feels like this defense is maybe going to break. When one side of the ball is not performing up to expectations, it's really hard for the one side that is to stick with it. Everything right now sounds like it's going okay. They're fixing everything, or they're Danny Stutzman is staying in tune with everything and keeping guys responsible. But you just wonder, can that thing keep heading in the right direction?
Here is a number of the players on Tuesday night, just kind of talking about where things are in the locker room right now.
I know this season probably hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to so far, but you got 5 games left. Has that set in yet that you've only got 5 games left with this group?
Oh, it definitely has. It's I don't want to leave the field. Any opportunity I have to get out there, I got 5 more games wearing this jersey that I'm blessed to be in. So every time I'm out there, I just want to give it my all, because I'm just a keeper of the jersey, keeper of the room. After these 5 games, Kobe, Kip, Jaren are going to be taking my spot, taking my responsibility, and hopefully I can just leave this team better than how I found it.
Going 6-7, I know what it looks like having a positive season. So just making sure guys are just, keep going and, just bring energy, just making sure I'm heard. Because I know I'm a quiet guy. Sometimes I like to lean back and let people do what they have to do. And I hate being a motivational speaker, but sometimes I have to be heard and show people this is serious. This is almost a job, So this is all we've been dreaming about since we were little, so why not go get it now? So just making sure I'm heard and everybody's just, out there having fun and doing their job and working on the little stuff.
Yeah, obviously, when something like this happens, you kind of feel like as the leader you have to be responsible to help out. But, it's been, for me, I'm very personal with all the guys in the locker room. I love all those guys, whether it's special teams, defense, anything. So, if you just go out there, we'll joke around. I'll just try to mess around, keep the energy high, keep the spirits high. Because, you're going to go through stuff as a team, and this is what makes us stronger is how we come out of it.
Would it be fair to say that you guys have rallied around each other during one of these times? Obviously, things haven't gone very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all you can do, There's going to be a lot of outside noise and stuff, and I felt like we've really come together, and, bad stuff's going to happen and, changes happen, and it's just part of the business and part of the game. And I feel like we've really just decided, we're going to stick together through all this. So that's all you can do. Just come back to work, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and get back to work.
Do you feel like guys have responded well to that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like more people has looked at me different. Even I had a couple coaches. We have something called class meetings where we go in and we just talk about our own problems or team problems or whatever we have to talk about. And a couple coaches came up to me and said, I'm proud of you for, using your voice and being heard, because a lot of times I like to lean back and just, be quiet. But when people hear me and hear what I have to say, I feel like they take me more serious. And, okay, he's more of a leader and he's more of a guy we have to look up to and listen to. He's been here for 3 years, so just take him more serious. So I think that's my biggest thing.
So much respect for somebody like Javonte Barnes.
He's the man.
Kind of stuck this thing out. We've seen him mature in front of a TV camera, in front of the media setting, tenfold since he was a freshman, obviously.
Yeah, he's been awesome to talk to. I mean, I told you on the way back the other night, I mean, we usually give out the media award every year to a player. He's going to be my vote this year. I mean, he's had to answer a lot of tough questions. I think Danny's in that conversation too.
Sure.
Danny gets rolled out there more than anybody to answer for the issues. But Javonte's been great to talk to, and a guy that a year ago we were talking about, is he going to get in the transfer portal because of the way his season went a year ago, and now you look up and he's kind of the leader of that offense right now.
Obviously you don't see the numbers coming in a box score, but he's running hard.
He's playing hard, man. Playing as hard as anybody, I think.
I think you would take that type of effort from all 11, and maybe the product looks a little bit better than what it has been.
Yep.
Going from some of the guys that are more veterans in the program to one of the new faces that broke onto the scene last Saturday, Jacob Jordan. And you've wrote about him this week. You talked to his former high school coach down at South Lake Carroll, Riley Dodge. It's a unique, kind of fun story, and it does kind of bring back some memories of maybe what a Drake Stoops did as a freshman.
Yeah, his story is interesting because he didn't have a ton of offers. He had some good offers. Texas Tech, which actually was Emmett Jones, was the wide receivers coach at Texas Tech when he offered Jacob Jordan. So then he comes to a football camp. I think Emmett invited him to the football camp a summer ago in 2023 and just was a baller. Just was super impressive to the point that Brent's like, hey, you can come play for us, on a preferred walk-on. And he had options. He had Texas Tech, North Texas, I think Tulsa, some smaller schools. But then he wanted to go to Oklahoma. He wanted to prove himself. He saw, what Drake Stoops did, even a Gavin Freeman coming in, kind of earning his way. And it's funny. I don't think he had any idea that he was going to get into the game against South Carolina. And all of a sudden he's thrown out there, and it's crazy. 6 receptions, 86 yards. That's already more than several guys that have played a lot more snaps.
A ton.
So you wonder, can he get more involved? It's a great story, but can he get more involved in the offense? I know that him and Jackson have worked closely together. I think even going back to the summer when Jackson would put together some of those throwing sessions, a lot of times Jacob Jordan would show up, especially down in the Dallas area because they're both from that area. But I would expect him to play a lot more, Eddie. I mean, what you saw this last week, you'd like to think that maybe he can replicate that.
Hey, I mean, from a measurable standpoint, certainly probably not what you're looking for when you're thinking of the prototype of a wide receiver body, but you can't argue with the production and what he did. 6 receptions, 86 yards. That's more than anybody's done outside of, I guess to a certain extent, Brennan Thompson, but we're not necessarily riding home for that either.
Yeah, and with Burks possibly being out, maybe Jacob Jordan's your starting slot wide receiver this week.
What an incredible story that would be to go from somebody that didn't expect to play a week ago to starting at Ole Miss in a massive game.
Yeah, and I think it's a credit to him because the one thing you can say about him is he may not be the quickest guy and all of those things, and the biggest guy, obviously. He's in the right spot. He's running good routes. He knows where he's supposed to be, and he blocks his ass off too. There's a few plays where he's blocking downfield, and it's like that's what they need. They just need guys in the right spots and playing hard, and it just feels like it's been kind of a mess at wide receiver with all these guys out. So if he can come in and do the right things, I think you got to play him.
Yeah, you got to trust him. Here is a little bit more on the freshman walk-on wide receiver Jacob Jordan.
Going into the game, I wasn't expecting to play a whole lot, but halfway through the second quarter, Coach Jones just told me I'm in, so I went in there and made the most of my opportunity and made a few plays. I'm happy with it.
What goes into that? Just like you said, maybe not expecting to play a whole lot, but then you get thrown in. What helps you get kind of ready to step up in a moment like that?
I mean, I always try to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. So, I mean, just the preparation every week, just preparing as much as I can for the chance that I do get in, and I think that's what helped me succeed on Saturday.
Jacob, could you just take us through how you got to OU for people that maybe don't know much about you and what it means to play for this school?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it means a lot. I'm super honored to play for this school. But, I was asked to come to the camp, and I went through the camp, got the PWO, and then I took a visit. I just fell in love with the culture here and Coach V's leadership, Coach Jones, just everything around here. It just felt special. And, Coach V is just really inspiring, great leader, and I just wanted to be a part of this program.
What other schools maybe were looking at you? What was your recruitment like, I guess? I know you were really productive in high school, but what was that recruitment maybe like?
Yeah, I had a few offers coming out of high school, like Texas Tech, North Texas, Tulsa. I didn't have a ton of offers, but, those schools I liked, but I don't know, it was just something about this place that I just felt like I would regret it if I didn't come here.
Yeah, again, I spoke about this last night. I think it's a great example. We talked about it in the team meeting, a guy that just has been working, showing up every day, getting his reps, not getting the opportunity in game, but not letting that affect him, his practice habits, his attitude, his mindset, his effort. It's because of all those things that allowed him, when called upon, that he was ready. And so that was the message to guys is to stay ready, keep working, keep developing, keep believing in yourself, trust the process, all of those things. He's a living, breathing example of what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like with his mindset and how competitive he is, it doesn't matter if you're a walk-on scholarship player, 5th year, 6th year, it don't matter what it is. That's why I'm so proud of him, because, a lot of people might think, we have all these other people that's on scholarship, but he went out there and went to go get it. So reminds me a little bit of Drake Stoops, but, he has his own story.
Yeah, no doubt. I look up to Drake a lot, and before he left for the Rams, I got to train with him and pick his brain on a few things. So, yeah, I look up to Drake a lot and try to model my game after him a little bit.
Great story, but just hearing that makes me feel like I'm a million years old.
Well, you are, Eddie.
I know, but I don't like to admit it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well,
he even said that at one point. He said he trained with Drake. I think this last summer. I think Drake was up here getting ready for training camp or something, and Jacob Jordan actually went and caught routes with him and stuff. So certainly a good guy to learn from.
Yeah, and as we said, where Oklahoma is offensively, I think you take anybody right now.
Yeah.
You got to take anybody and see where it goes.
You look at his high school stats. I mean,
big numbers.
He was a monster. I mean,
monster numbers at a massive school.
Yeah,
a really good
highest
football
level
program. I know that you were talking earlier before we started recording that his sophomore season, his quarterback would have been
Quinn Ewers.
Unbelievable.
I know, that's crazy. So he's coming from an elite program, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And he was rated, I think, as a 3-star. So it's not like some nobody. Like he was very well known down in the DFW area, and just took a chance on wanting to play at a big program like Oklahoma.
I remember back, and I looked it up. I think it was Sunday afternoon when we coming back from the South Carolina game and all that kind of stuff. And Josh had wrote something when he committed after getting the walk-on offer. And it was basically, he had quoted a DFW trainer, somebody he had worked with in the DFW area, and basically said that he runs the best routes that I've ever worked with.
And that's what stood out.
And it's a notable guy, too.
Yeah. That's what stood out on Saturday was, I think, route running. We've heard Brent say it several times that the route running has not been great. So for him to go out there and do that at a high level in his first, he didn't play against Temple. That was one thing I think a lot of people thought he maybe got some garbage time. That was his first ever snaps, was coming in that game. In that moment where they're getting their ass kicked, needing some sort of spark, and he comes in and provides it. So, that's a hat tip to him. I expect him to play a lot more moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, it's going to be interesting on Saturday. Oklahoma, 20.5-point underdog currently. And, expectation-wise, I feel like we talked about this on the Unofficial 40 on Wednesday, but my expectations offensively are so low right now.
Low.
If you just move the ball and you're able to control it for just a little bit to give that defense a rest on the sidelines, I know Javonte Barnes basically said it, but maybe you can shock the world.
Look, if you can score 14 points in this game, I think that would be a success. If you get in the end zone twice, I think that we'd all be like, well, that was a step in the right direction, I guess.
That's where this is at?
Yes, that's exactly where this is at.
I know. All right. We will talk to you again here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel on Saturday afternoon/evening for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Instant Reaction. Make sure you see Family Business, too, because right around the corner here, when you get into next week and then the week after, We're going to have some OU basketball to talk about. And Jenny Baranchek joined Joe
She's
Castiglione
awesome.
Jr. and Isaac Stoops on Thursday.
She's great. I think women's basketball opener is on Tuesday next week.
Oh, it's next week.
I think so, October 29th.
Okay.
I believe
Wow.
that's correct.
I was thinking men's basketball, which starts November 4th. We talked to them. We'll be getting some hoops reports here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel, so it's going to be fun.
Women, top 10.
It's crazy. I think they're going to be really good.
I think they are too. Just talking to her today in the office, and Josh Poteet, the great Josh Poteet, SID for women's basketball. They feel pretty good about this group, so
should be fun.
It's gonna be exciting.
Should be fun. Schedule your Final Fours: San Antonio for the men, and then Tampa for the women. So, for George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you right back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.